Introduction to Olfactory nerve. Welcome to this detailed exploration of the olfactory nerve, our first cranial nerve and the gateway to the sense of smell. In this session, we'll uncover its unique features, development, course, and clinical relevance. Unique features of olfactory nerve. The olfactory nerve stands apart from other cranial nerves due to its direct connection to the brain, its regenerative capacity, and its exposure to the external environment. Let's dive deeper into what makes it so special. Olfactory nerve, first cranial nerve. God has given us one nose, and its primary function is olfaction, our sense of smell. The nerve responsible for this is aptly named the olfactory nerve. It's the first cranial nerve, making it the anatomical and functional starting point of our cranial nerve journey. Shortest cranial nerve. The olfactory nerve is the shortest among all cranial nerves. Despite its size, it plays a crucial role and is frequently injured due to its exposed position and delicate structure. Meningeal coverings. The olfactory nerve is enveloped by all three meningeal layers, pia mater, arachnoid mater, and dura mater. This protective padding is vital, especially given its vulnerability to trauma. Padded by meninges. Think of the olfactory nerve as being padded, P for pia, A for arachnoid, D for dura. Interestingly, it lacks a neurolemma and is supplied by the central artery of the retina, highlighting its unique vascular and structural features. Developmental origin. Embryologically, the olfactory nerve is an extension of the prosencephalon, specifically the telencephalon. It arises from the olfactory placode, a thickening of surface ectoderm, showing its deep developmental roots. Developmental model. Here we see the prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon, the three primary brain vesicles. The telencephalon gives rise to the olfactory placode and optic vesicle, marking the early blueprint of our sensory systems. Piriform cortex termination. The olfactory nerve ends directly in the piriform cortex on the inferior surface of the cerebrum. This direct cortical termination bypasses the thalamus, a rare trait among sensory pathways. Exposed to surface. Unlike other cranial nerves, the olfactory nerve is exposed to the external environment through the nasal mucosa, making it susceptible to infections and trauma. Lacks decussation. Unlike motor pathways that cross over, like the pyramidal decussation, the olfactory nerve does not decussate. It remains ipsilateral throughout its course. Lacks degeneration and thalamic relay. The olfactory nerve is capable of regeneration and does not relay through the thalamus. These features make it both resilient and unique among cranial nerves. Mnemonic SAM2E3LL. Let's remember its features with the mnemonic SAM2E3LL, shortest, most commonly injured meningeal coverings, extension of telencephalon, ends in piriform cortex, exposed to surface, lacks decussation, degeneration, and thalamic relay. Relations of smell and taste. Smell and taste are deeply interconnected. Together, they create the perception of flavor, a multisensory experience stored in the parietal lobe, specifically Brodmann areas 28 and 43. Flavor integration. When either smell or taste is lost, the overall flavor perception diminishes. This explains why food tastes bland during a cold or nasal congestion. Origin of olfactory nerve. The olfactory nerve originates from the olfactory epithelium located in the superior part of the nasal cavity, especially around the superior and middle conchae. Nasal septum bones. The nasal septum is formed by the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone and the vomer. These bones provide structural support and house the olfactory mucosa. Olfactory epithelium. The olfactory epithelium contains tall columnar receptor cells, basal cells, Bowman's glands, and olfactory nerve fibers. This specialized tissue is the starting point of olfactory sensation. Course of olfactory nerve. The olfactory nerve fibers, unmyelinated and small, form bundles called phyla olfactoria. These pass through the cribriform plate to reach the olfactory bulb. Types of olfactory nerves. There are two types: lateral olfactory nerves, 12, 20, and medial olfactory nerves, 15, 20. These fibers contribute to the olfactory nerve's broad sensory input. Cribriform plate. The cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone is sieve-like, allowing the passage of phyla olfactoria. It's a critical anatomical gateway for olfactory transmission. Olfactory bulb and tract. Special sensations from the nasal mucosa travel via the olfactory filaments to the bulb, then through the tract to reach higher brain centers. Mitral and tufted cells. Within the olfactory bulb, mitral and tufted cells process incoming signals. These second-order neurons project via the lateral and medial olfactory striae. Mitral cell origin. The term mitral comes from mitre, a ceremonial headband worn by bishops. This poetic naming reflects the cell's shape and prominence. Olfactory tract site. The olfactory tract lies on the anterior perforated substance. The medial stria connects to the opposite side via the anterior commissure, enabling bilateral integration. Cerebral landmarks. Structures like the genu, corpus callosum, and subcallosal area surround the olfactory tract, showing its intimate relationship with limbic and cortical regions. Lateral olfactory striae. The lateral stria carries axons to the primary olfactory cortex, specifically the uncus of the temporal lobe. From here, signals are relayed to the entorhinal area, amygdala, and piriform cortex. Olfactory pathway. The olfactory pathway includes the bulb, tract, anterior olfactory nucleus, and striae. It connects to memory-related areas like the hippocampus and amygdala, explaining the emotional power of smell. Intermediate striae. The intermediate stria ends in the anterior perforated substance, while the lateral stria terminates in the uncus of the parahippocampal gyrus, key regions for olfactory processing. Applied anatomy. Let's now explore the clinical relevance of the olfactory nerve, especially conditions like anosmia and ageusia, which affect smell and taste. Ageusia. Loss of taste, ageusia, is often linked to olfactory dysfunction. Since flavor perception depends on both senses, anosmia can mimic taste loss. Anosmia causes. Anosmia can be caused by local factors like viral infections, COVID-19, herpes, hepatitis, or central lesions affecting the olfactory bulb and tract. Local causes. Local causes include viral infections and atrophic rhinitis, often due to chronic smoking. These conditions damage the olfactory epithelium directly. Central causes. Central causes include trauma to the anterior cranial fossa, meningiomas, and infiltrating frontal lobe tumors. These affect the olfactory bulb and tract. Olfactory rootlet avulsion. Traumatic brain injury can cause avulsion of olfactory nerve rootlets. This occurs when the brain shifts suddenly, tearing delicate fibers at the cribriform plate. Anosmia causes. Anosmia can be caused by local factors like viral infections, COVID-19, herpes, hepatitis, or central lesions affecting the olfactory bulb and tract. Final anatomy recap. Here we see the olfactory bulb, tract, striae, anterior commissure, and related arteries. These structures form the anatomical and functional basis of olfaction.